Welcome to another episode of the Butterfly Mindset Podcast.
Left late night, what a mess. We woke up and we're still obsessed. Can't keep it straight night and day. We keep it classy, still we stay.
Welcome to another episode of the Butterfly Mindset Podcast. Today, I have my good friend, Ricardo Bueno. What's up, bro?
What's up, dude?
How's it going, dude? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not sure why I decided to do this one, but...
Basically, buckle up.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm super excited about this episode for a bunch of reasons. One of the big reasons is like I feel like you are one of the most connected people in the industry, and it's like behind the scenes a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about like how you got here. Like how did you actually? I'm going to go rewind all the way back. Like, how did you even get into real estate?
Oh, man. That was pre-subprime market collapse. I say this a lot of times, and a few people are like, what? You went to college? I went to UC. It's true. I went to UCLA. You know, I said that.
I actually would have never guessed that.
You see? I said that out loud. I think I was with Jeffrey McGonigal, and I said, yeah, we were talking, and I go, yeah, I went to UCLA. And Jeffrey goes, what? It's like, that explains a lot. I'm like, I don't know what that means. What does it explain exactly? But I went to UCLA. I worked as an undergrad, a couple of odd jobs, office jobs. And then I got a job working for a mortgage banker, or mortgage broker, just as an assistant. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I was putting loan packages together. I didn't understand what any of it really was. I didn't know what a good faith estimate was. I interned at Merrill Lynch while I was in college.
What did you study in college?
Political science and economics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wanted to be an attorney. Yeah.
Dang.
Just think about that for a second. I wanted to be an attorney. Yeah, no. I didn't know at the time, but our clients were like Antonio Banderas, LA Dodgers players. Godsmack was a client.
Oh, wow.
I was putting PowerPoint presentations together as they would come in to meet with their broker, and I was putting these big loan packages together. And the more I did it, the more I realized what I was doing. Like, it's a loan package.
Yeah.
Here's how loans work. So I can go back and work as an undergraduate student making $7.25 an hour, or I can become a loan officer.
Yeah.
And make a little bit more, or a lot more.
Yeah.
So really, I started by becoming a loan officer, and I forget the name of the brokerage. But I learned how to put loan packages together. It was just before the subprime market collapse. I started to do what any of us would do now, which is go network with other realtors, get to know them, try to build relationships.
Yeah.
But I don't know how old I was. I must have been like 24, 26.
Yeah.
And it was like, come, good luck, honey. Come talk to me after you get some experience. Or no thanks, we already have our own in-house lender.
Yeah.
So being a kid, I was always a really good networker, and I was always a really good, I built my own website.
Okay.
I bought the domain Rebeezy or Rebeezy Media because I was a TA for an undergraduate education class. I'm walking down campus one day. One of my students yells, "Yo, Rebeezy!" And I was like, "What? What's Rebeezy?" They're like, "That's you." And so the name stuck. That's why my username is and for always, like forever will be Rebeezy.
What a trip.
Yeah. But I bought a domain, built the website, and I'm like, if I'm not going to be able to network with agents or have any sort of credibility, then let me try to build my authority the way I know how, which was building the website, doing email marketing, and writing blog content.
Oh, interesting.
So I was writing 3 or 4 articles a week on Los Angeles Mortgage Rates Report, May 6th, 2025, but back in the day. Here's what's happening on the economic calendar that's going to impact mortgage rates. Should you lock or float your rate? Here's how to use gift money as a form of down payment. Like, I would just write everything that consumers wanted to know. And I got my website to rank on page 1 of Google for like 9 months as the #1 search result for Los Angeles mortgage rates. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it as a way to build some semblance of credibility and authority.
Yeah.
It just worked out really well. So I was blogging before anyone was blogging. I was sending emails before anyone was doing email marketing. And then the big one was I did an event in LA, and it was RE Barcamp Los Angeles in 2009, I think. A bar camp is basically, you heard of a bar camp?
Yeah.
So it's an unconference. You don't have a scheduled agenda. You all get together and you draw up your agenda based on what you want to talk about that day. What problem are you trying to solve?
Yep.
This was the most disorganized event you've ever been to. But as a kid, it being my first event, we ended up getting like 510 agents there. It was at the Hilton in Pasadena, and I didn't have a big budget. I convinced a web design company to stream it live. So they live streamed it. I let them, give a talk and promote themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But all of those little things, getting the website, trying to say, if I'm not going to get access this way, then let me build my authority by building the website. If I'm not going to get attention this way, let me throw an event and see if I can build a community of people.
Yeah.
Like, I just did that stuff not knowing what I was doing. By subprime, what was that, 2009, 8? 13 loan applications on my desk. I couldn't close a single one because all my second position lenders were filing Chapter 13.
Yeah.
And I just got really good at building agent websites. I got my first speaking opportunity because I was teaching other realtors. Hey, how about I help you build a website, but in exchange you give me your referral business. Here's how you build a website. I got invited to speak at an event at Disneyland. I remember my first event. I had notes in this hand or a clicker, and in my other hand kept shaking, so I put my hand in my pocket. But it went really well. That group was NAREP. They liked it so much they invited me to speak at their national conference in Scottsdale or Phoenix.
Yeah.
That was my first paid speaking gig, and then I just got really good at agent technology. I reached out to a company called Real Estate Tomato. I was like, hey, I don't have anything to sell at events. You guys do agent websites. You do really good agent websites. They're like, yeah, we know who you are. Why don't you come work for us and we'll pay you this much? And then I just built a career in agent technology, by accident.
Yeah, so you were trying to build a business as a loan officer.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this isn't working. Right?
Yeah, more or less.
And then because of what you were trying to get, and then with the current market, you had to figure out how to pivot.
Mm-hmm. Even as an undergrad, I wanted access to, the MBA school at UCLA. I forget what the hell's the name of the school. As an undergrad, I wanted to go to their networking events.
Yeah.
But you don't have access. You're an undergrad. You're a freaking freshman.
Yeah.
I reached out to the graduate student associations and I was like, hey, how about I build you a website, but in exchange, I want access to your events. I don't want to have to pay to go to your events. I don't want to have to ask permission. I just want to be able to attend and network.
Yeah.
I've always been, I've never been shy to reach out to people that are ahead of me. And I've always been a good networker. But yeah, I reached out to the Graduate Student Association and said, let me build you a website.
And that
in exchange for your networking events.
Yeah.
I just did the same thing in real estate.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the whole thing, is like real estate's all relationships, right? So it's like, it's all how you meet people, who you know, so on and so forth. And I think a lot of agents, on the agent side, they think that, oh, I don't need to have relationships with other agents, but it's like the most important relationships in the business is B2B relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So you started building sites, then you started working with, you said Real Estate Tomato?
Real Estate Tomato, then Diverse Solutions. Diverse Solutions was one of the first IDX companies. I wrote all of our product training and documentation. I was doing webinars and podcasts like more than a decade ago, before webinars and podcasts were cool.
How did you come up with those ideas as far as the marketing perspective goes?
What's funny is it's hard to talk about the same thing 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
so once you do like IDX is IDX. How many different ways can you talk about IDX to make it sexy?
Yeah.
Like it's IDX.
Yep.
You either have listings on your website or you don't.
Yeah.
It was a very good creative exercise because it forces you to rehash the same topic, but put a different spin on it.
Yeah.
I think what made me unique is that I understood, because I was a nerd that way, I understood like, who the hell writes content? Here's what's happening on the economic calendar that's going to impact mortgage rates.
Yep.
I understood how loans worked. I understood how agents worked. I understood how the real estate transaction worked. That made it easier for me to put a spin on the technology
Yeah.
and talk about it 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to reach perspectives, not just in the real estate industry. Like, I started a podcast with a colleague of mine, and we interviewed Seth Godin. We interviewed David Meerman Scott. We interviewed people who are big, prominent authors now. We did that back in like 2011.
Wow.
And it was because, again, let's try to get some fresh perspective that's not just real estate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's great that we're in the real estate industry. We go to all these events, but I think some of the freshest perspectives are outside of the industry.
Oh, 100%.
See?
It's like when you get, I mean, people ask me this all the time. They're like, "How did you go from 0 to 60 so fast?" I'm like, because I didn't know any different. Like, yeah. I came in with a whole, like, I think when you're locked in like one track mindset, everyone's like, "This is how you do it, and this is what you got to do, and this is where you got to go." And then someone comes over here and they're like, "Hey, but you could do this," right? Like, I didn't know any of the stuff over here on the right where it was like, "This is what you're supposed to do." I just had to
figure it out.
Right?
Create and figure it out.
And so 100%, I think it is, when they're outside of the business, it's when you get these creative. I mean, that's why I work with so many companies outside of real estate, like because one, it's a different perspective for them, me going in there, but then they give me a whole different perspective coming in here.
Yep.
Right, which is very interesting.
For me, I didn't have a natural, like, this is the path you're going to take and you go down that path.
Yeah.
For me, I had to figure out a path, carve it out, try a bunch of stuff that didn't work, and then say, if I don't have access, or if I'm too young, or if I'm all these things, then let me pave my own way.
Yeah.
Let me try a bunch of stuff, see what works, what doesn't.
Now, when did you, I'm curious, like, you wanted to be an attorney. Like, when did you, like, decide that's not going to happen? Like,
when school got too hard.
You're just like, yeah.
I didn't finish.
Really?
I didn't finish. Yeah.
So you went to UCLA, but you never graduated.
I started making really good money speaking at events.
Wow.
And I was like, do I finish school, and for what? Or do I just go down the path that I'm going down now?
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't finish.
So
I laugh now, of course.
Yeah.
And people tell me, like, I've had a few family members, I'm sure it bothers my parents.
Yeah.
All those years invested in your education, but like, that degree doesn't serve me in my life now, and the business that I run now, and anything now.
Yeah, 100%.
If I wanted to go and be an attorney, yeah, of course, go finish, take the LSATs, whatever. Yeah. But no, for me, where I am, I ended up going down a different path.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't go to college, so my brother's an attorney. So, like, I know both sides really well.
I just laugh because, like, if you know my personality now, do you picture me as an attorney? Like, hell no.
No chance. I'd be like, bro, come on. But you're very good at what you do now, right? So you worked with, like I said, I mean, probably every freaking tech company in the industry, like, at this point. So, like, so you went from working with, like, IDX, Real Estate Tomato IDX company,
I will say it's been a fun ride. It's been an interesting ride because I've never actually formally applied, like, with the resume.
Yeah.
Like, my website has always been my resume. The conversations have been, your reputation precedes you. Let's just skip the interviews. How much money do you need to make?
Yeah.
Like, I've been very blessed and fortunate that way.
$10 million.
Yeah, with the pinky up. part of 2 companies that were bought by Zillow within like 10 years. Diverse Solutions was bought by Zillow.
Yep.
Then I worked at a company called Copy Blogger. They sold about 3 years after. Cloud CMA, they sold to Lone Wolf, and then Follow Boss. Follow Boss sold obviously to Zillow. I had asked a friend of mine, why aren't I building these relationships faster? Why does it take so much work? Why does it take so much effort? And I think a friend of mine commented to me, it's because you're so young and you're getting started in the industry so young, but you walk into a room like you own the place.
Yeah.
You command presence, and people want to know that you're going to stick around for more than a year, for more than 2 years. I think I've done that for so long. I've been present. I've built relationship. Now I've earned my stay, right? I've earned my stay in the industry. But a friend of mine always taught me, like, I'm open book about just about anything. And the philosophy is like rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
That's why I've been so open and whatever with relationships. And if you do that, like, sounds cheesy, but the rest takes care of itself.
Well, I always say it's a life hack, right? Like a lot of people don't realize this, but it's a 100% life hack. Relationships in general, and then when you put out positive energy, or you go with this abundance mindset that you're willing to help and grow other people and yada yada, what ends up happening is those relationships just become stronger.
They compound.
So when they become stronger, right? Like then it's like, oh, I'm no longer with XYZ company.
Yep.
Boom. Another person's like, well, why don't you come work with us? Why don't you come work with us? Right? Because those relationships are, like I said, it's a hack. And all you're doing is providing value along the way.
Yep.
And if you learn how to provide value in any industry, I think it's not just real estate, but in any industry, like if you learn to provide value first, like lead with value.
Yep.
Then the relationship long term is going to be, if you ever need it, you just say, hey, what can we do?
100%.
Boom, done.
100%.
Right? And I think that a lot of people, they don't.
We're selfish.
Correct.
We're selfish.
Yep.
I mean, bottom line, we're selfish.
Yeah.
And I get it. We have to be selfish. We need to earn our living. We need to do this. We need to do that. But put that like, how can I lead with value? How can I help you?
Yeah.
The amount of calls that I've made introducing somebody or doing a favor for somebody, saying, hey, I'm going to preface this with, I don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
But here's why I'd like you to connect with Cyrus.
Yep. Here's
why I'd like you to connect with this person. If you get something comes out of it, great. That's it.
Yeah. and that's I think that's a very important trait to have, because you're not only showing, like, I think that's not a piece that we can't skip, right? Like, it's not just because you've been here for so long, right? It's because you've been here in the industry for so long, but consistently over time have just said, hey, let me provide value for your business. And over time, people say, at first people are like, okay.
What does he really want?
Correct. Exactly, right? Like, and this is what happens all the time. Like, okay, but really, what's in it for him? What do you really want? What do you really want? And then over time, they're like, this guy just doesn't want anything.
Make it make sense.
Correct. And it's happened with me in my life, so I know it's like it's this thing where it's like you're like, okay, but what? Like, what is it? Like, why is he so nice? Why is he trying to help? Why is he like? Because most people are, like you said, selfish. So operationally, they think there's got to be something in it for them.
I'll give you a small one, and maybe this relates, maybe it doesn't. When we used to book suites, or I'm going to get scolded for saying this out loud. We used to buy like these big rooms and do like a Genius bar and help people with their tech. And I would buy breakfast or lunch.
Yeah.
I would go around and see the vendors standing around, and I'd say, hey, why don't you guys take turns, but go get some breakfast, go get some lunch. They're like, oh, you don't need to do that. And I'm like, no, it's a long day. We still got 3 more days of conference.
Yeah.
We're just going to throw the food away, or it's going to go to the hotel staff. Go take a break, go and eat when you can, blah, blah, blah. like expecting nothing in return.
Yeah.
Because it is a long day. It's a grind. It's a hustle. And you're constantly on the road, blah, blah, blah. Like I did that just because I feel like it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
We're all working hard. We're grinding. Yeah, maybe we're competitors, but
Yeah, but still.
whatever. Take care of yourself.
But then on the back end, when you're no longer with that company, that probably was very easy to make a phone call to those people.
Conversations now are, you've taken such good care of us in the past, anytime, like you've always put yourself in front or ahead and helped us. How can we help you?
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm running events for people in the industry.
Well, now I mean, so
That was never the intent, though. You know.
Correct. That's my point.
Yeah,
That's my point, right? Like it's a life hack, right? Like if you just provide value over time, like look, like some people are like, oh, well, you should know what you're gonna like. No, like at the same time, like I may never ask you for anything.
Yeah.
Right. But something might come up and I would be like, oh, Ricardo's a perfect person to ask for that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then it's
yeah.
this thought process over time, and it becomes a friendship, it becomes a relationship, it becomes like more than just a professional thought process. Now, so you worked at FUB.
Yeah.
So worked at FUB, helped build FUBCon.
Thanks to you, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, by the way.
That's a whole...
Oh, my God. How much time do we have?
Yeah, exactly. Literally. Ricardo comes to me, says, so I'm planning this event. I'm like, who's planning this event? Me. Who's your team? Me. Ricardo.
No.
I'm like, what's the budget?
The worst part is that the event was in 15 weeks. 1,000-person event in 15 weeks, multi-million-dollar budget.
And you're like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm like, no.
I hired an AV company, and in 2 weeks, I realized that the AV company didn't know anything.
Yep.
And so...
So sat down with Cyrus at Malibu Farms over here and said, what do I do?
In a panic.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, don't worry. I'll make 2 calls. It's done. Problem solved.
That's the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then, went to, did FUBCon Vegas, did FUBCon LA, Zillow acquires Follow Up Boss. You stay with Follow Up Boss for a while, and then you decide you're going to go on your own.
I took...
What does that look like?
Chaos. Chaos and identity crisis.
Yeah.
I think, so I'm not ashamed to say it. I'll say it. I hired a business coach like 6 years ago, and I realized I don't need a coach to tell me what to do. I already know what to do. The problem is I'm doubting my decisions. I'm second guessing myself, and I'm psyching myself out.
Yeah.
I don't need a business coach. What I need is a therapist. So I found a therapist after a lot of searching, and I went in there and I said, here's the deal. I've been in my industry for X amount of years. I want you to help me personally and professionally.
Yeah.
What I need you to do is oftentimes when I'm running towards a goal, I feel like I have blinders on. So I need you to help me see my blind spots. I need you to help me see around corners. I want you to call me on my BS because I'm full of it oftentimes. Don't be afraid to call me out on it. And I need you to help me figure out problems or whatever, like that negative self-doubt. I need you to help me figure things out in 2 weeks, not 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
I just like...
See it sooner.
Let's just get to it. And she's been amazing. So I go every Monday for the last, I think I want to say 6 years. With Follow Up Boss and running that event was like a culmination of all of the stuff that I've learned over the last 12, 14 years. Somebody asked, one of my sales reps, Will Gray, we're sitting there at FUBCon LA and I'm building like the registration page for the following year. He's like, I just have one question for you. How the hell do you know all this shit? I don't have like a straight career path. It's just been like zigzag, always up and always for big name companies.
Yeah.
What I've learned is through like experience, failure, just a lot of industry life experience.
Yeah.
on the vendor side, on the entrepreneur side, on the sponsor side, on the speaker side, you name it. So Follow Up Boss was like a culmination of all of that stuff coming together. With that, I knew that Dan always wanted to do an event, and I got sucked into the event stuff. I poured so much like heart and energy into that event, bringing it to life. Like it's more than beyond exhausting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's what you're constantly thinking about. And then once it's over, you got to think about the next one.
Yeah. You have zero breathing room. Zero breathing. And I'm not saying I didn't have support. I had support.
Yeah.
But it feels like you don't have support.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, you're cultivating an experience. So it's an interesting thing because when you're a creator, right? When you're creative.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to have a lot of space for creativity.
Yeah.
And that is mind draining, but then you have to go and do all the analytical stuff as well.
It's royally exhausting. Yeah. What happened is I think I poured a lot of my identity into that event.
Yeah.
And then I experienced the complete opposite, where we're now creating an experience, but I'm not leading the experience. It's a bunch of different committees.
Yeah.
And a bunch of different committees trying to create a different vision for it. That made it very difficult for me to switch. Because I'm very used...
This is post-acquisition.
Yeah, post-acquisition.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey, who helped me buy our house, was the one that always said, you should do your own events. Start your own events company. Start your own events. Do your own events. I just, for the longest time, was afraid to do it.
Yeah.
I let fear creep in. And my therapist says because I poured a lot of my identity into like FubCon.
Yeah.
And I need to separate, like, that job is not my identity. And so I spent a few months soul searching, being a whiny little baby about it.
Well, I think that, but it also makes sense, right? Because like you're with Follow Up Boss, like Dan didn't want to be front and center. So really you were brought on to be front and center, right? Like that was your identity, is Follow Up Boss.
Yeah.
So 100% it makes sense because on a daily basis you are Fub. And so then once Fub doesn't exist anymore for you, it's like, what am I?
What do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Which totally makes sense.
100%.
And I think that's so hard to... So like I think we all go through these identity crises depending on what you're doing in your life, right?
Yeah.
Like some people go through it. Like for me, I went through an identity crisis when I couldn't play soccer anymore because I thought everybody loved me for what I did, not for who I was, right? Like, and so you go through these throughout life, and it tends to be when you're very passionate about something.
Yes.
You pour everything into it.
Yes.
And then it's like not there anymore.
It's 100% that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now you're dealing with this identity crisis. You're like, do I stay at Fub? Do I not?
Yep.
Then it's like, see you later, Fub.
Yep.
And then it's like still dealing with the identity crisis. Right?
Yeah.
I know because we sat down and had lunch. Right? And so I'm like...
that's hilarious.
And I remember we had a conversation about it. And so how do you work through that? Like what's that process? What's that process been like to go from where you were, literally, let's say a couple months ago to like where you're at, where you're running multiple events in the industry. You're running some of the coolest events.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because you're agnostic, right? Like you're not simply a lot of people are like, oh, we're this brand only. Yeah, like you're working with so many different brands and individuals. Like, what is that? How do you work through where you were at? This is the only thing that I am, and then now over here.
It was a lot of self-doubt. My coach, my therapist, described it as what you're going through right now is the hero's journey. She would probably give it more justice in explaining it, but you have to go through a process of grieving, and you're finally grieving. You didn't allow yourself to grieve.
Yeah.
Because you poured so much into that event. And then now you're in the process of building, finding yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It was honestly through friendships like yours and Jeff and a few other folks, like, again, I don't lack experience. I don't lack connections. Sure, I might have some constraints in terms of like budget resources and whatnot, but I know exactly what to do and how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think I just went from a few of those conversations to like help air things out. My buddy Dustin did a very good sort of like brand identity exercise. Here's how Ricardo creates a business, and here's how Ricardo makes money. Here's how the business of Ricardo makes money. And then I don't know, honestly, I couldn't tell you what switched. But from one day to the next, it was just conviction.
Yeah.
I went from being scared and doubtful to all of a sudden I have conviction.
It's that question of like what if the person you're waiting for is you?
I remember going to an event, walking with Chet Black, and he says to me, you know, you have something that people would pay like an enormous amount of money for. You have the gift of attention. And people don't have that.
Yeah.
Companies would love to have that. You have the gift of attention right now, and we're all just waiting for you to decide what you want to do next.
Yep.
We're all literally waiting on pins and needles for you to decide what you want to do next. From there, once you decide, like, it's game on. And after that, I just stack that with the rest of the advice that I've been getting, like, when are you going to be ready? When are you going to be ready? When are you going to be ready? It was just conviction.
Yeah.
It feels like something is forming, something is brewing. Like, sure, I like helping others promote, create awesome event experiences or produce their events. I miss being the front man. I miss being on stage. So I want to start hosting and producing my own events. I have a couple of brand deals, like with Real Geeks and whatnot. Something is forming there, and I'm excited. I just have a lot more conviction now than I had. Damn, has it really been 5 months, 6 months ago?
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really cool, like seeing, I get an inside scoop, right? 'Cause I see all the back end stuff. I'm like, bro, come on here. And then you see like the end product, right? But like, my wife will say this, like she tells people all the time, like she's like, Cyrus is the type of person that will give free advice and tell you exactly what you need to do and how to do it. But if you don't take that advice one time, like
he's done helping you.
He's done helping.
Yeah.
And it's like really fun to be able to like sit down, have the conversations, because every time you go and execute, you know what I mean? Like, like it's like you like, and I think that goes from all the way from the start of your career, in the industry, is like you said it earlier, you're not afraid to take advice and like realize like, okay, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Let me take advice and then let me go execute. Let me take advice and we go execute. Let me take advice and go execute.
Yep.
And I think that's the most, if I had to put like what makes Ricardo so successful, like I would put that as the number one thing, because that's what leads to so many people's success. But a lot of people have too big of an ego to sit there and say, I want to ask for advice.
I think Dan said it at some point. He's like, Ricardo just figures it out.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to embarrass himself. He's just not afraid. He's going to figure it out.
Yep.
I took a job once on the advice of an old boss of mine. And the job was, I felt like I wasn't qualified for the job. It was, Dan teases me because, like, what is this thing? It was a web personalization software. And what it does is it takes everything it knows about your subscriber record and it creates a personalized experience on these websites. I was running our webinars, but I was trying to learn so much and like coding and creating websites for like farmers that sold like farm equipment. I designed the website for like Bishop T.D. Jakes. I have no idea who that is. Of course I know now.
Yeah.
It was just so random. And I was like, my old former boss, like, how's it going? I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm behind here and I'm struggling to keep up. And he goes, well, look at it this way. You're further ahead than the next person.
Yeah.
And that's enough to keep you going.
The best, That's what the best way to teach piano. Like if you don't know how to play piano, just be one lesson ahead, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what that was.
As long as you're one lesson ahead, you're always good. You can teach piano.
But what I started doing is I really started investing, like financially, and then sure with Follow Boss, I had the pleasure of having some additional financial resources. But I would reach out to people that were, I forget his name, but he helped Teachable run their big like virtual summits.
Okay.
And you're talking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
Yeah.
I reached out to him one day because he was a consultant at our previous company, the one where I was like one lesson ahead. I was like, hey, I'm doing this big virtual summit at a new company that I'm at. Here are some questions that I have. I want to increase engagement. I want to increase registration count. Here's everything I know. Here are some assumptions I'm making. Here are the questions I have. Assume I'm smart, and can you help me knock this out in 30 minutes? And we got on a call, and he helped me knock it out in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We did that virtual summit, and it was like the highest engaged for a 4-hour runtime webinar. We had 1,500 people on the entire webinar, like for 4 hours straight.
That's amazing.
That's insane.
That's literally insane.
And I've done a lot of that now. I reached out to like a learning experience designer. I said, hey, I'm curating this event experience, but I also do these other smaller masterminds. There's a lot of different sort of people that I need to get in alignment, from hotel staff to speakers to event staff to blah, blah, blah. How do I communicate to all of these different subgroups? Because they're all using their own language to talk about the event, but I need us all to be and work in unison.
Yeah.
You can't ship an event of that scale in 15 weeks. Like, you just can't.
Yeah. Literally.
Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've learned to not be shy about admitting I don't know the answer.
Yep.
And then reaching out to the right people, saying, here's what I know. Here are my assumptions. Where am I wrong? How can you help me?
Yeah.
It's just it's another cheat code.
That's the superpower.
That's the superpower.
Right? Like that's what I'm trying to say is like understanding that and being able to do, I mean, that's how
It's humbling yourself.
Correct. So it's killing your ego, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like on a daily basis, like it's very easy. It's very easy for you or for me to sit there and be like, we know it. We know the answer. I know how to do it, yada, yada. Right? Like, because you can look at track records and say, okay, yeah, executed. Okay, yep. But at the end of the day, like the reality is that if you can kill your ego on a daily basis and just be grateful for where you're at, right? Mm-hmm. Which will kill the ego. Then like, that's how I built my business so fast. I just went to the top team lead. I went to the top owners. I'm like, hey, well, how did you do that? And I sat down. I'm like, okay, but why is this way, right? And like, if you ask those questions, like again, I believe I'm this way, and I believe most high-performing individuals are this way. If you ask the questions, you take the advice and you execute on it, they're going to be willing to go and help you to do it.
Yep.
To help you again when you call them.
This sounds weird, but it's a gift to them.
Yes.
To see you actually shine and execute.
So I'm going to give you our good friend Ralph. Okay, one of my biggest mentors in life, right? Like business and everything. And I know he's became a mentor for you too, right? So like one day I called Ralph and I was pissed. One of my agents, I had him for 2 years. GCI, he was making $350,000 GCI. Yeah. You know, a year on his second year. You know, and
that's amazing.
Crushing, right?
Yeah.
I helped him build his business. And then all of a sudden he calls me one day. Doesn't take me to lunch. Calls me and says, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to a different."
Call. Yeah.
And I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, dude, I just poured everything. I showed you how to do this. I walked you through." And then I called Ralph, and I go, Ralph, you know, I had this guy. This is what happened. Blah blah blah. And he goes, Cyrus, you know what? He goes, a long time ago, I had this happen to me. I had a guy that I was helping.
Yeah.
And then he went on, and he goes, I just figured it was way more productive for me to sit there and say, well, my mentee has gone on to accomplish bigger and better things, than to turn around and say, screw this guy, be pissed off. Yeah. And it's such a weird...
Ralph with the wisdom as
Yeah,
always.
it's such a weird perspective shift because it's the same exact situation.
Yeah.
Right? And so then conversations over time with Ralph, I've talked to him and I'm like, you know, it's great because now my focus is building them so that they can leave.
Yeah.
Because if I can help somebody accomplish something way bigger, like, and I could be a little piece part of that journey, like, how cool is that?
Fulfilling.
Like, it's so, like
I'm
again,
sorry, cheesy but fulfilling.
No, it's so fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like being able to be like a part of like FubCon, for instance, and then walk into there and be like, this is what we built. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And so being able to be a part, you know, I say this to a lot of people because like they'll DM me, they'll ask me for advice, and I'm like, yeah, I would love to be part of, like, I'm happy to be part of your journey and helping you. They say thank you. I'm like, boom. But like, it really is, because if they take that and then they go, like, think about 10 years from now, they're at the top of the industry. Yeah. And they say, oh, Cyrus helped me X, Y, Z. Right? Like, that is the coolest thing
proud
for
of you,
me.
bro.
Like
that
just
is proud of you.
Like, how sick is that, right? So I think the most successful people in any industry want to give back.
Yeah.
And they want to help people. Yeah. If someone came and asked you for advice, you're going to give it to them because you want to see them win. Yeah. It's a quote from Russ. And he said in one of his songs, he goes, he said something like, I've never met someone that basically, you know, never met someone that talks shit that's making more money than you. Right? Like, if they're making more money than you, they're probably not bothered by X, Y, Z, right? Yeah. It's when people are threatened that they start talking and doing these things, right? Yeah. And so I think that the when you're successful, you want to help other people. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to give back to people. I want to help. I want someone to come to me and be like, how can I do this? Yep. I tell my agents all the time, I'd make way more money doing it on my own. Like, it's true. Right? Like, I'd make way more money if I didn't have all the agents calling me all the time. If I just had one or two agents here, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I love being able to help build your careers. Awesome. Right? I love being able to help build X, Y, Z. I mean, like, and so you're 100% right. It's this fulfilling, like when you give advice as a leader, and then they go and take it and they go and execute, like, it's one of the most fulfilling things that you can do as an individual.
There's a few of us that, and this has been years ago now. We don't do it as much anymore. But we had Dustin, who's a CEO of an escrow company, or former, Scott, who's a mortgage broker, and myself. The three of us started a podcast together, The Marketing Trench, and we would meet once a week. And the thing was, we were never doing it to try to direct business to one another. We would always just help each other out. Yep. Dustin would bring people into the escrow company, and we would go and do an audit of their tech stack with, like, no expectation of anything. Yeah. Dustin asked, like, why are you guys doing this? They're like, well, you're a cool person, like, rising tide, bro. Yep. We're just here to help. Like, I don't need a loan out of this. I'm sure you have your own mortgage guy. I don't need, Ricardo doesn't need whatever. We're all doing it just to help. We've all become, like, life friends and mentors. Yep. And I'm fortunate to have, like, you, to have Ralph. Like, I can pick up the phone and ask Ralph a complicated question. He'll give me an answer. Yep. I can pick up the phone and ask Dustin. It's a very good feeling. And we do it in the spirit of that's what we want to see you thrive. Like, that's it.
100%. I spoke at Chapman University the other day. Yeah. One of the kids came up to me afterwards. He's like, hey, so who's your mentor? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, who's your mentor? Who taught you? And I'm like, the thing is like, I have like 100 mentors. He's like, what? Like, a mind-blowing conversation, you know? And I'm like,
but that's right.
100%. Yeah. Because in every piece of your life, you should have someone that knows more than you in that piece. Yeah. right? Whether it's fatherhood, whether it's marriage, whether it's business, whether it's whatever it is, recruiting, like you could break it down. There's someone that knows more than you in every single subject that you want to know.
Yep.
Why not find those people and connect with them?
Yep.
Because, like, for instance, I was in New Jersey this last weekend, and one of my buddies, who's executive at Coldwell, he goes, I'm talking to him, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking at recruiting. I want to talk about recruiting. He's one of the best recruiters in the country.
Yeah.
I will put him against anybody. Literally anybody. You can name the recruiting coach. You can name whatever. I will put him against anybody, and he's better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I talked to him. I'm like, dude, like, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm at. And just like in a 5-minute conversation, completely changed the whole perspective of where I was going with recruiting and how to actually recruit. You know what I mean? Where, like, you can't get that anywhere else. If I tried to figure it out on my own, I would have got there in 2 years.
Yeah.
I just, boom, done. And then he sits down and he starts asking me, then I think it was later that night, we're sitting down and we had just ate dinner, and he starts asking me, he's like, hey, so, like, what's your retirement, like, structure like? And I start going through, hey, this is how my entities are structured. This is why they're structured this way.
Yeah.
I have these properties here. This is where it flows into here. And I start showing him my structure. And he's like, dude, I need to talk to my CPA. I'm like, ask him this, 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 and this. Because this is how you're going to get to this. And he's like, so, again, he's, what, 10, 12 years older than me, right? But, like, he doesn't know as much that I know, and that's, you know what I mean? So it's like we're helping each other, and that's what, like, you can have 100 different mentors in every single space. Right? So I think that that's an important piece to remember, is like, and you hit that on a nail, and I wanted to, like, really nail it in. It's like, you should have a mentor in everything that you do.
Or put yourself in the right rooms.
You should never be the smartest person in the room.
For me, it was a Slack group, prefab. I was invited to that Slack group. There's a bunch of different business owners in there. Andrew Wagner, a bunch of, like, startup founders in different industries. The Slack group is by invite only. So somebody who's a member has to invite you, and you have to promise to engage. What's amazing is that there's these, like, itty bitty small entrepreneurs and these really huge, massive entrepreneurs. And we all literally just chat around Slack to talk about life.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We just had kids. Are you struggling with this? To really complex business questions.
Yeah.
Like, I felt so out of my element. But you start asking questions, and it starts opening up your perspective to so many different things.
100%.
And that was mentorship. Like, that's mentorship.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions. One question is where can people find you and connect with you?
Oh, ricardobueno.com. The new website rebrand is live. It's amazing. Rafal, who did our FubCon website, redesigned it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. But it's Ricardo Bueno, RICARDOBUENO.com.
Love that. And then second question is somebody's new in the industry, trying to figure out how to get to the next level in the industry, whether they're a lender, an agent, a title officer, whatever. Like, what's one piece of advice you would tell them to do?
You need to create focus and discipline for yourself. What does that mean? It means literally finding finding a mentor, someone in your office, outside of your office, whatever you need to do to keep yourself accountable. Because this industry is probably the easiest industry to get distracted. Distraction is gonna kill you, and it's gonna slow your momentum so much. I've been fortunate. I've had some bumps along the way in the last 6 months, some losses, a lot of wins, but it's because of the focus. Every week I'm focused on some activity to help me move forward. And you just need to build that. You need to build a good system for yourself to prospect. You need to build a routine into your schedule. Otherwise, you're just going to it's going to take you 5 times, 10 times longer to get to your goal.
I love that. Yeah. Success equals discipline and consistency over time.
Yeah.
100%. Dude, I appreciate you being on today. I like, and just to preface, like, I know we can have a conversation for like another 3 hours. We've done it. Like, we'll sit down and have this. But I think it's really powerful for people to hear like your story. It's not a conventional story, right?
No.
And so to hear that you're where you're at now, it's been years to build this, but just to hear that as long as you stick to it and you keep going, like, you can win long term.
Yep.
So I appreciate you sharing that, bro.
Awesome, dude. Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
Appreciate you.